Hey, welcome. We are going to talk about an overview of statistics and some of the vocabulary that we're going to be using for the statistics part of our course. So let's jump right in. First thing we want to define is the word data. Data is all the information we get from, I'm going to just put from observing. But this observing can take a lot of different forms. We could be data collecting. We could actually be handing out a survey. We could be running an experiment. And sometimes it's numbers, sometimes it's not. There's a lot of, it's a broad topic to cover like all of that information that we're gathering in a study. The next word is statistics. Since we're in that course, we should probably know what the word means. Statistics is the science or the study of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting that data. So what you're going to see in the weeks to come is we're going to collect information, collect data from different populations, different areas, different groups of people and things. And then we are going to organize it. We're going to graph it. We're going to ask questions about it, analyze it, and then project, draw conclusions from it. And all of that process together encompasses the science of statistics. So what usually how statistics works is we have a question that we want to be answered. So let's take, for example, just something simple. I want to know what's the average height of all the students at my college. So that question can be answered by doing a little bit of analyzing and measuring. So the first vocabulary word in that scenario is the population. The population is defined as all of the outcomes or measurements of interest. Okay, so in our example, if I want to know the average height of the students at my college, the population would be all of the students at my college. Okay, it's the entire group that I'm looking to study. Now, sometimes that population can be really large. So think, for example, if we extended our example and wanted to find out what's the average height of all the people in the United States. Now, at this point, the population becomes the entire United States, and it's too hard to measure the heights of all the people in the United States. Maybe we could do it at our college, maybe not, maybe that's too much time too, but for sure the United States would be a challenging task. So what statistics does is breaks these populations into smaller groups, and those are called samples. So a sample, just very simply, is a small part of the population. So if we were to draw a picture of this situation, I could say like, okay, here is all of our population. This is all of our college students at our college. And then my samples are a small subset of these 10, 20, 30 people, what have you. Now, the issue though, is that you can create that sample, that smaller group, in a lot of different ways. And some ways are good, some ways are bad. Some create what we call a bias, which is like, well, you kind of picked them in a way that's going to skew the results. So for example, if I want to know the average height of the students at my college, and what I do is I go and I pull a sample of the entire basketball team and I measure their heights, what's going to happen? Well, the average height of the basketball team, I would say typically is taller than the average student at the school. And so that's not a really good representative sample of the entire school. So there are good ways to pull a sample and bad ways to pull a sample. But nonetheless, that is a sample, be it biased or not. And there are a lot of different samples within a population. So I could sample all the students in one class. I could sample all the students that walk into the cafeteria. There's a lot of different ways, and we'll talk about those methods later. But for now, what I want you to understand is that there's many, many samples within a population, and they're all going to give me different averages. So the average height of my basketball team sample is going to be different than the average height of my statistics class. And one is not wrong or right necessarily, but they are different because you're pulling small groups of the population and surveying them, and they're going to differ based on what sample you're looking at. As we go forward, we'll see that hopefully if you pull that sample correctly and well, that it will be representative of the population, but it will be different. They will be different from each other nonetheless, because they're different people in each sample. So that's the idea. The main way you can tell a difference between the population and a sample is in a population, we're going to talk about all of something, and a sample, we're going to talk about part of something, some of something. Okay, and then the last two words we're going to take a look at are parameter and statistic. Now, this is a statistic, not statistics. Statistics is the science, the study of all of these things, but a statistic itself is a different vocabulary word. So don't get confused between those two. A parameter is a number description of a population. And a statistic is a number description of a sample. Okay. So let's run through our whole example and talk about each of these vocab words together. And I'll give you a specific example of parameter and statistics. So let's say we want to know what is the average height of all of our college students at one particular college. Let's say, for example, that there are 50,000 students on campus. So then what I do is I'm like, well, I don't really want to measure 50,000 students. I am going to pick 30 students at random. And I measure those 30 students, and I find that the average height of my sample is 5 feet 6 inches. Okay. Now I'm just kind of curious of the process. So then after that, I go and I actually measure all of my college students, all 50,000 college students. And I find that the average height is 5 feet 4 inches. Okay, so that's my scenario. So I've got this college of students. I pick a sample of 30 and I find the average height of those 30 is going to be 5'6". But then I go and I actually measure the whole entire college. And I find that the average height of the entire college is 5 feet 4 inches. Now, why are they different? They're different because a sample is going to only pick some, and the numbers are going to vary a little when you pick some versus when you pick all. Okay. But hopefully, if you picked your sample well, they'll be kind of close. So let's go through and do some vocab work on this scenario. These 50,000 students right here, this is going to be the population. Let me change colors here so maybe you can see this a little bit better. There we go. This is the population. Okay, it's all of the students at the college. It's the entire group that I'm interested in. These 30 students that I pick at random, this is my sample. Okay. This right here is the average height of my sample. This is a number associated with my sample. Now, remember how we did this. This is a number, a statistic is a number description of a sample. So this right here is called a statistic. It's a number, and it doesn't have to be an average. It can be any number descriptor of my sample. So this is my particular one that I'm interested in, but it can cover a wide variety of topics. And then I want to measure all of the college students and find the average height is 5'4". This right here is a parameter. Okay, and let's just scroll up a little and review here. A parameter is a number descriptor of a population. So because this 5'4" describes the average height of the entire college, which is my population, it's called a parameter. So basically the idea is these guys go together, okay? This parameter measures the population, and the statistic, you get too many arrows going on here, but the statistic measures the sample. So what you'll have in your homework is some problems where it'll lay out this scenario, and then you are going to assign your vocab words to each part of that scenario. All right, I will see you next time, and have a great day.